The mod Immersive Engineering adds its own version of concrete, which is different from vanilla concrete. You cannot make it into color. Some would say that it's a lot blander and might not have as many uses, but it's a separate block on its own, so it's an interesting thing to look into. Now, normal concrete is, Immersive Engineering concrete is made using sand, gravel, clay, and water, similar to vanilla concrete, but not quite the same. Now, there's another way to make this concrete, and it's through liquid concrete, which is basically the same stuff just done in a mixer. This liquid concrete can be put in a bucket and perhaps a jerrycan, but I haven't checked that. Now, if you place the bucket down, it will spread like water and then solidify. However, since these liquid levels have their own layers, so does the solid concrete. It's certainly an interesting thing, but it's not exactly the most useful, especially if you're making, say, roads. You don't want a road that's bumpy like this. You could, of course, place them really fast, but it's just easier to craft concrete at this point because you can stack concrete to 64. You cannot stack buckets. So I thought, well, Immersive Engineering adds a fluid outlet, and this, if you pump liquids in, it will then pump it into the real world. It can be used for filling rivers. But as you can see here, if I were to pump water in, it updates and starts spreading. So if I were to pump concrete in likewise, it starts spreading, which is not what we want. So I also have the mod create in this mod pack. This is all create machinery, only the fluid outlets, Immersive Engineering. And it has recently added its own fluid system, and it can pump things in the world using the hose pulley. So you can control what layer you want it to start filling. So if I were to put the hose pulley all the way down here, it would fill up this Y level. If I were to put it up here, it would, I believe, fill up to this height. Of course, there's no walls, so I'm not exactly sure what it would do, but probably make a mess. So if I put it back down here and I were to put one water bucket in here, my bad. I need to turn this around. There you go. It will output the water and it will not update. So if I put another water in, it does the same. Another. I can keep doing this. And I will keep doing this until we get a 90-degree angle. And now if you're familiar with water mechanics, this, once updated, will fill up. So like a ice crystal that causes extremely cold water that has not formed into ice to suddenly freeze, if I were to update this, it will all update and turn into water. This metaphor will make more sense with concrete. Ah, frick. Okay, well, it's a bit weird. You'll see with the concrete. So I can do this with concrete, and a very similar thing will happen. It will not update. It's now all filled up, and we can wait as long as we want. This will stay liquid, which means you can have a weird slowness trap if you'd like. Maybe you drown in this, I'm not sure. But the moment that I update it, say by placing down a concrete, give it a few seconds, and it will start drying up. You can then extract this from the solid concrete. Oh, fuck. You get the idea. Be careful about that. But if we dig around here, you'll see that it's all solid concrete. So this lets you, say, dig a road out and then fill it in with liquid concrete. If for whatever reason you decide to make a setup that produces liquid concrete instead of solid concrete, it's an interesting thing you could do. But you can also make other structures with this. Scaffolding will prevent liquid from the hose pulley from being placed outside of it. So if I sink this down to this level, and then I put concrete in, it will fill up a 3 by 3 by 4 cube. Once I flip this around, you can see it work. Oh, it's quite magnificent, isn't it? Then I'll break that for good measure. And if I were to update this by... Oh, what's a good way to update this? It will start to crystallize. Oh, I suppose dry, not crystallize. Then you can remove the scaffolding. Which is a lot harder, apparently, than I thought. And you'll have a floating cube of concrete made from liquid concrete. You can use this mold technique to make entire walls if that's what you would like. Before I do this, this will just make it easier on me. Gotta reverse this, and it will start pumping it. Note this is at max speed. It will be a lot slower at lower speeds. And then I'm just going to destroy this to be careful. And give it a little update. And now you'll have a solid wall. You can make ceilings or roofs with this as well. This will be a lot more satisfying when I break it. Here we go. Of course, you can pull this back up. And then there's one final technique which does not use the pump, and that's that if you use buckets of concrete like this, it will create flow in concrete. Now you might think that this will create a solid wall. It will not. It will instead create a window blind effect. Well, that's not what was supposed to happen and didn't happen over there, but you get the point. With these techniques combined, you can make a very interesting monstrosity made out of concrete, and you're always going to have a short spot right there for some reason. You can create a floor using those techniques. You can create columns using this technique. You can create solid walls using this technique. Floors and ceilings, roofs with that, and finally windows using this. Well, there you go. That's how you use immersive engineering and create to make a very ugly looking concrete building.